Welcome to Virtually Live, the podcast where we get insights from marketing leaders and event professionals. I'm Ashley, Content Marketing Manager at Kaltura. In today's episode, we're joined by Erica T.G. Warren, VP Corporate Communication and Employee Brand at Adobe, hosted by Ron Yekutiel, co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Kaltura. They discuss Adobe's approaches to AI, data, and productivity in decision-making, focusing on how digital capabilities are essential to supporting an excellent employee experience. Enjoy!
So today, the major theme is about making decisions and how we use AI in order to have better decisions. I'm curious as we kick it off, maybe a recent or important decision you've made, and do you rely on technology for that, or is it more gut, or what is it that drives decision making?
Yeah, so working at a technology company, technology is infused into what we do every day. And if you've not played around with our new AI in Adobe Acrobat, right, billions of PDFs exist in the world. And the question before us was, how do we unlock the knowledge in those PDFs in a way that is accessible and easy to do? And generative AI has helped us do that. And so now, today, you can do AI Assistant in Acrobat, and I use it personally. In fact, our CEO has demanded that AI summaries be made in Acrobat. So everything I send to our CEO is generated by Acrobat, meaning you can go into a PDF and say, summarize it for me, tell me the 5 most important points, point me where I can find this information, and even generate a summary. And as a communications professional, my whole life is words, documents, words, volumes and reams. And so the ability to put multiple documents into a PDF, to search and query and ask questions and have it generate a first draft for me has personally transformed my workflow and my life. I'm starting to use it personally a little bit, so it really has helped me to make decisions faster. So we were discussing earnings, which is something that my team works on, and how do you go back and look at what we've said previously over the last few quarters, really understand our narrative clearly, and then generate where we're going forward. And so we've used Acrobat in things for press releases, for communications to employees, all kind of things. And it's transformed how I'm able to understand our previous messaging and then generate new messaging.
So you mentioned CEO a couple of times, which kind of gives the atmosphere of a top-down environment, but Adobe is anything but. It's really a bottom-up environment. Well, I love one of your culture points talking about that great ideas come from everywhere, and that's part of what we believe in Adobe, that everybody knows. But also, as you think about AI being a system that in theory is aligning everybody around one truth, the AI truth, but on the other hand, there's all these individual opinions. So how do you forge a participatory environment by culture? How do you push that? And is AI going against that individualism or supporting that individualism?
I'll start at the end and work backwards. I think generative AI in particular, done right, allows the same information to be given to multiple people in a way that they can consume it. And so that's how we're thinking about the employee experience, right? Instead of us sending out one email communication about the thing we need to communicate, what if AI could create a video for one person and a podcast for another, and just actually take the same information and put it in a way that you like to consume it? That's the power of it. I think at Adobe, we are such a human-centered culture, and that means we start with what is the human need here before we try to solve for the thing. And so it could be something as simple as, I'll start with internal and then I'll give an external example. It could be something as simple as, we're doing a new data retention policy, which seems very benign and just a thing we need to roll out. But actually, what's the human need? People are afraid that if we start deleting their things, they won't have the information they need to do the job. So how do we actually address that human fear first? How do we help people understand the need? And then let's roll out the policy. And so it is quite a remarkable place to be in that we start with the humans, we understand that human need. And I think we try to do the same for our customers. What are the actual needs that they're having? And what are the fears? So think about with generative AI, Firefly is our custom model that is commercially safe, which means we don't scrape the internet. We're not violating creators' rights, which we believe they have. So how do we make sure that we understand that human need of an enterprise who wants to produce content, that does not want to be sued for that content, but also they need creative ideation to take, instead of creating one idea, can I create 10 ideas at scale? So in that video, that was a real example from Coke that we worked with them on, of instead of creating one piece of content, can you use generative AI to learn that content and create 10 variables and test at the same time at speed.
Let me ask you, in order to get this going, quite often you're banking on internal events, where you have a lot of people listening at any given time, not asynchronous, but synchronous together. And you've established an internal event center of excellence at Adobe. I'd love to hear what it does. And since it's focusing on an internal event, how different is that from the external event? Is that a different philosophy, a different approach?
So I think the line between internal and external is completely blurred. It's blurred. And if we don't start with that foundational understanding, we will create different experiences for internal than external, and we will create a bifurcation in our brand. And so that was a really foundational principle that we started with, is there is no line between internal and external events. The same brand experience that we want to give to our customers is the same brand experience we'd want to give to our employees. And so this has been a journey. We're not fully there yet, but what we did is start by saying, if the Adobe logo is on it, internal or external, and it's an event, we have to start with a foundation. And so we really started pulling people together from all across the company who worked on both internal and external. One, in just doing an audit. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Where are your audiences? And that took more effort than you would think, because we do hundreds of events around the world all the time. And then it started with, what is the core experience we're trying to create? And let's all align around that, because it doesn't matter whether it's a private executive dinner or whether it's a 10,000 person event or whether it's a 30,000 employee event. And so really getting buy-in and alignment, which took some time across people, across geographies. And then starting with, now how do we make that easier? Because ultimately, right, everyone knows the experience they want to create, but what are the processes, tools, and technologies that we're all going to agree to use to make it easy for these events to be delivered? And that's the phase that we're in now. And so we've run some really big pilots and had some incredible success. Time savings, technology is a huge part of that. And at the end of the day, going back to the human need, these are humans who are trying to put on a great event. So how do we make their lives easier so that they buy into this system of wanting a greater experience for everyone?
And I 100% align, obviously, around Kaltura with internal and external is the same. You know, where do you put partners and even employees? I mean, in a place where you want to put customers in the center as an employee in the center, you might as well put both of them together in the center. And we, from a technology perspective, are really important for us to provide you one solution for both. There's a lot of experimentation. I know you're big on experimentation. And is AI supporting experimentation? Is it enabling us to do more? Is it doing it itself? Kind of thinking, saying, boop, here's the answer, just do this? Or does it enable you to iterate?
I think it is both the driver and enabler of that experimentation. So we have a cross-company working group we've set up in the last year called AI at Adobe. And now we all know AI has been around for a long time, but generative AI is really changing the world. And so we set up this working group, one, to harness that experimentation. So what we realized is employees were excited, engaged, and experimenting both in ways that were incredible and we didn't know about, and ways that were terrifying and we found out about. And so this working group really has set some guardrails around what types of experimentation we want, what types of software we want to allow in our environments at this point, and what types you have to apply to get into the environment. But it really fuels things like hackathons, which as a non-tech person, I never thought I'd participate in one. But now we do them for, here's a problem statement. How do we think generative AI could help solve that problem statement? And so we're doing them in finance, we're doing them in HR, and places that we never thought we could. And each business unit has a sort of a lead representation that sits on this committee that is responsible for knowing what experiments are going on, responsible for flushing those up and sharing those learnings. And then as we learn, we start to deploy more software. We're also doing things like AI days internally. Legal just did this, where they actually held an AI day hosted for the whole company to talk about where things are going, where policies are, and really helping people understand what those are. We just did one in marketing, which was all about prompt writing and better prompt writing and how to use our own tools. Customer Zero is huge for us. So as we deploy AI even further in our tools, we're trying to help people understand how to use them. So education, guardrails, and lots of experimentation.
Thank you to our guest, Erica T.G. Warren, and thank you for tuning in. Join us next time for another episode of Virtually Live the podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!